Hello and welcome to Startup Street. I'm Arundhati Ramanan and these are the top headlines from the startup space. Government pulls up e-commerce companies for raising prices on select items despite GST cuts in the last 1 week. Sources say more than 3,500 complaints have been registered, with the majority from UP, Bihar and Delhi. Assessly, a deep tech startup, has raised 44.37 crore rupees in seed funding from Foxhawk Ventures, making it one of India's highest valued early stage AI ventures. The funding will fuel Assessly's global expansion into the UK and US, accelerate commercialization and strengthen its tech team. Spiritual tech startup Vama has bagged 22 crore rupees in a pre-Series A funding round led by Wavemaker Partners, with participation from 500 global venture capitalists and others. The newly raised capital will be deployed toward expanding into new categories such as spiritual e-commerce and offline spiritual travel. OpenAI generated around $4.3 billion in revenue in the first half of 2025, about 16% more than it generated all of last year. The information reported, OpenAI said it burned $2.5 billion in large part due to its research and development costs for developing artificial intelligence and for running ChatGPT. YouTube has agreed to pay $24.5 million to settle a lawsuit that US President Donald Trump brought against the company over the suspension of his account following the January 2021 US Capitol riots. Reuters reported the deal makes Google the last of the three big tech companies to resolve lawsuits Trump brought in July 2021, accusing them of unlawfully silencing conservative viewpoints. Those were the headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. But on what's brewing today, Kapiva, the modern Ayurveda brand, has just secured over $60 million in funding with fresh backing from 361 Asset and Vertex Growth. The company says the new capital will supercharge its R&D manufacturing and health tech push while expanding its presence in India and overseas. With an ARR of over 550 crore rupees and 80% year-on-year growth, Kapiva is betting big on making scientific Ayurveda a global wellness choice. Joining me now to discuss this further is Ameev Sharma, the founder of Kapiva. Ameev, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. First of all, congratulations on raising the $60 million. But what does this round mean for Kapiva and how will it shape your growth strategy going forward?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So the round, just to be clear, had two large sort of aspects of it. Majority of the round was actually a secondary, where we actually exited some of our early investors and angels. This itself was a very good milestone for the organization, because going through a complete investor cycle where we got in early investors, gave them an exit, is a large milestone for an organization and puts it on its way to be sort of later stage company. The primary is raised mostly for R&D, right? The vision really for the organization is that how do we combine the authentic, traditional, high-quality Ayurveda with newer scientific methods and standardization, right? So bringing in things like clinical validation, bringing in things like, really standardizing it on a molecular level to be able to deliver measurable benefit to the customer, right? To our customers. And part of it is also, combining it with things like health tech and AI, where not only do we give the best quality and clinically validated product, we also give consultation and we actually help the customer through a holistic path in order to get them to the health outcome, right?
Absolutely.
So categories like diabetes, right, where it's the product itself, but also lifestyle plays, right? This is a combined approach and a modern approach to really take Ayurveda into the mainstream.
So combined approach to take Ayurveda into the mainstream. Now, you just spoke about strengthening research and development, right? So if you could sort of tell us, what are the new categories or innovations consumers can expect from Kapiva in the near future?
No, absolutely. So, one very different approach that we've taken is that we've tied up with large scale, sort of well-known allopathic chains, right? Be it some of the largest hospital chains in India, to, specialized hospital chains like AIIMS, to government bodies like CSIR. We have multiple partnerships with the mainstream healthcare fraternity to actually rigorously test our product from a modern pharmaceutical point of view, right? There's no reason why Ayurvedic products, once manufactured in a correct way, cannot deliver measurable efficacy maybe not as quickly as allopathy, but over a period of time as effective as allopathy, right? So a lot of that R&D goes around, building patents and building IP in categories like cholesterol, categories like diabetes, categories like sports, right? Sports
Yeah.
nutrition,
Yeah.
where we're able to deliver measurable benefits through customers through modern scientific validation.
Right. So speaking of these IPs and all of that, which of your products then, the product lines that are currently driving the most traction for you, and where are you seeing,
Absolutely.
sort of the strongest consumer demand?
Absolutely. So two of the areas, funnily enough, which are doing the best for us are also the areas where we've put in the most R&D dollars, right? Typically we have multiple phases of R&D. So we actually start with on a cellular level, doing in vitro and in vivo. Then we move on to animal, then single leg human, and then eventually double blind placebo RCT human. While these are very complicated terms, roughly what we're saying is that we follow the same level of rigor that for allopathic medicine is followed for allopathic medicine to register as a medicine, right? So we've done that currently for a diabetes supplement as well as for a sports supplement, right? Which is like a herbal creatine to simplify the meaning, right? So these are two products that also deliver maybe 60% of our revenue, and both the products are getting close to 200 crores each.
All right.
Beyond that, we also see green shoots in areas like heart health and liver health. Liver health.
Sure. Sure. So you've pointed that out for us. And, speaking of numbers, you've achieved an ARR of 550 crore rupees with 80% year-on-year growth for the last 3 years, right? So what are your revenue targets for the next 2 years, and how do you plan to sustain this momentum?
So honestly, our targets, we're not trying to slow down anytime soon, right? We were lucky enough to kind of get close to the 200 crore mark, for example, in a diabetes medication, right? And that puts us as potentially the largest diabetes supplement in India today. Having said that, our penetration amongst the diabetes population is only about 0.1 to 0.2%, right? So I think this is a category which is significantly under-penetrated in India, right? People talk about Ayurveda and how everybody takes Ayurveda in India. But the reality is that only 0.5% of healthcare in India is Ayurvedic healthcare, right? If I looked at that same number in China, it's 15%. So TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, is 15% of healthcare in China, right? So it's still very early days for scientific Ayurveda to actually, or modern Ayurveda to actually become mainstream, right, in India. So while, we are seeing good growth, I think it's still very early days. And, my vision is to see this as a multi-billion-dollar global healthcare brand, right? So
So
I
you
think still long way to go.
Long way to go. You want to see it as a multi-billion-dollar global chain. But, if
Absolutely.
you could quickly then tell us, what are the global markets that you are currently eyeing? You are in a couple of them. So which ones
We are.
are you looking to grow further in? And take us through the omni-channel strategy. You're present across 40,000 stores. So like offline doing well for you?
Sure. So starting with the global, so we have subsidiaries in Dubai and in the US, right? So Middle East has been a really successful market for us. US is doing well, Europe as well. So UK and now Germany are starting to pick up quite well. So we are definitely seeing this as a global foray, right? So while global is still only 10% of our business, because we started just a year ago, yes, that's the fastest growing part of our business and is doing extremely well. Within India and actually globally as well, we have a very omni-channel approach, right? So our objective is that customer doesn't live on one channel, right? Customers buy online, customers buy on marketplaces, customers buy on multiple platforms. So we are available at 40,000. Actually, that number will be closer to 50,000 now. 50,000 stores online, plan to get to 1 lakh by March of this financial year. At the same time, almost 35% of our business happens on our own app and our own website, where we also deliver everything from doctor consultations to diet plans to a complete holistic solution for customers looking for health outcomes. We are also today the largest supplement player on platforms like Amazon and Flipkart, right?
Sure.
So across multiple platforms is where we are, we're focusing for leadership, and that's the way customers behave today, right?
Absolutely.
Customers
Yeah.
don't think about platforms; they think about convenience.
Right. It is about convenience for the consumer. All right, Amev, thank you so much for joining us on this show, and wish
Absolutely.
you all the best on this journey going forward.
Thank you for having me.
And
Pleasure.
moving on the hot seat, India's heritage is going global, and investors are betting big on P-Tal, the P-Tal, the handcrafted copper, brass, and bronze lifestyle brand, which has just raised $3 million in a Series A funding round led by VC Grid and Rain Matter by Zerodha's Nitin Kamath. The company already generates more than half of its revenues from global markets and plans to scale that up to 75% in the coming years. From empowering artisan families to building a premium lifestyle brand out of India, P-Tal is blending tradition with modern design and is now targeting 150 crore rupees ARR in the next year. Joining me now to discuss this further is Aditya Agarwal, the co-founder and CEO of P-Tal. Aditya, thank you so much for taking time out and being here with us on Startup Street. You know, you've raised this $3 million. How will these funds sort of help P-Tal scale both in India and internationally? If you could sort of take us through the fund allocation plan.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. We are so glad to, have great partners alongside us in our $3 million fundraise journey. The mission that we have with this $3 million is actually to reach more than 3 million households across the world. And how we'll be allocating the funds is essentially into more and more of R&D and product innovation. Given the fact that we are scaling globally, what works in India doesn't necessarily work outside of India, right? So we are working a lot in terms of developing new products, figuring out different markets. A lot of it will also go in then developing communities and raising awareness and education around these products. The health benefits around these traditional metals like brass, copper, and bronze. And hence, product innovation and greater market expansion through education and awareness will be the main key areas where we'll be investing a part of this fund that we have raised.
All right, that's where you're, going to deploy the funds that you've raised. And can you sort of quickly tell us what was the gap that you saw in this market that made you decide to, sort of make these products?
Right. So, P-Tal has an interesting story. It did not start as a brand or a business. It actually started as a college project in Shri Ram College of Commerce, New Delhi, where the idea was just to revive the community of artisans who were making brass, copper, and bronze products. Right. But over time, what happened that we realized that our mission was a lot more bigger than just being a college project. And hence we started looking at the fact that, we had always heard from our grandparents about the health benefits of brass, copper, and bronze. But eventually we saw that these metals were replaced by cheaper alternatives in the market, and they went out of our homes, right? So the idea then figured that, it's not just about the artisans who are making these products, but it's also about the consumers who are using these products. And that's where we realized that, there are so many health benefits around using brass, copper, and bronze. And how can we become like a new age brand for modernizing these traditional utensils like brass, copper, and bronze?
Sure.
These new products, which have great health benefits and great functionality for today's homes.
Great health benefits, great functionality. You're helping the artisans as well. And it's something that started as a college project. So, but one thing that's interesting is over 55% of your revenue currently now comes from overseas market, right? So what's sort of driving this global demand for handcrafted Indian metalware? Can you take us through which products are seeing the most demand?
Yeah, so we started our global expansion journey 12 months back, and in a span of 12 months, it has overtaken our Indian revenue as well. It's that, these products have a global appeal. These are not just products which are meant for Indians and Indians living across the world, but it's also meant for, people who are of the foreign origin as well. So interestingly, out of the total international expansion that we have, around 60 to 65% of the revenues are coming for local foreigners. So we have products like copper bottles, copper water dispensers. We have Dutch ovens, which are driving a lot of our revenues in the international markets. And that is how, we have seen that people outside of India are also much more aware and conscious about their health. They value Indian heritage. And I think that's why we say that, this fundraise that we have just done, it's about building a bridge between India's past and the world's future. And hence, it's not just a fundraise of P-Tal, but we call it, this is the fundraise of India. This fundraise will make India proud in the global markets across the world.
Sure. P-Tal has also grown from a 5 crore to a 50 crore ARR since your last raise, right? So what's your roadmap to hit that 150 crore ARR target that you've set for yourself in the next 12 months? And, speaking about scaling rapidly, you're also trying to turn profitable and be a sustainable luxury brand. So what's your timeline to profitability?
Right. So we are already profitable, and, we have been frugal since our earliest of days to ensure that, we are not just helping our artisans and consumers consume better, but we are generating a positive economic impact on our business as well. In our journey of growing from 50 crores to 150 crores in the next 12 months, I think it will be driven mainly by our expansion in the international markets. Currently, we are servicing most of the markets in the US region, but going ahead, we also want to explore markets like Middle East, Europe, and UK as well, which present great potential for the products that we have. And at the same time, we'll also be expanding heavily in India, where we have developed a strong base. We have 2 online stores in Delhi, one in Greater Kailash and one in Vasant Kunj. But going ahead in the next 12 months, we want to set up more of our exclusive retail outlets across different metro cities of India.
Sure. And if you could quickly tell us, we're running out of time, 30 seconds. One of your strongest narratives is the artisan empowerment, right? With incomes rising from 2,500 to 60,000 rupees. So how do you sort of balance commercial growth with sustaining the social impact?
I think for us, commercial growth and social impact are not two different sides, which are at a battle. I think that they go hand in hand. What has happened as P-Tal has grown from 5 crores to a 50 crore business, we have been able to impact more than 100 of these artisan families, with 5 or 6 of these artisan families also earning upwards of 30 lakh rupees a month, 30 lakh rupees a year, right? So I think for us, when we are growing ourselves as a business, automatically it helps the artisans and their families to grow and their livelihoods to grow as well. So I think for us, the narrative would always be about building a business with our head and making sure we are building compassion in the hearts of our consumers and our artisans.
All right. Aditya, thank you so much for taking time out and being here with us on Startup Street. And we wish you all the best on this journey.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here.
On that note, it is time for us to head into a short break. But coming up next, homegrown brand Gully Labs has just opened its flagship store in Delhi's Panchsheel Enclave. This comes just after the company raised capital worth 8.7 crore rupees. The founders reveal their growth plan and the way forward on the other side.
This isn't just a sneaker, it's a statement. Handcrafted in India, inspired by our streets and designed for the world. Today, we're stepping into the world of Gully Labs, one of India's homegrown brand that is redefining the sneaker culture. Have you ever wondered what goes into crafting a sneaker that tells a story? Well, let's throw the question and the shoe at the founders to find that out. Catch this. And now tell me, what makes Gully Labs special and what went into making this shoe?
So this shoe is our classic Gully number 3 silhouette that we launched very recently. It was inspired by the classic Mojari or a Juti silhouette.
The genesis of Gully Labs. How do we make India cool for Indians? How do we represent India on design product on a global stage? And how do we do that with sneakers?
When you started, what was the category that you began with? And today, how many categories are you operating?
Welcome back. You're still with us on Startup Street. India's sneaker market is booming, valued at nearly $4 billion and set to touch $6 billion by 2032. And it's not just global giants like Nike and Adidas chasing the opportunity. Homegrown brand Gully Labs, which recently raised 8.7 crore rupees in seed funding, has just opened its flagship store in Delhi's Panchsheel enclave. CNBC TV 18's Aishwarya Anand goes behind the scenes from their Noida warehouse to the new store to find out how Gully Labs is lacing up the take on the global sneaker giants. Take a look.
This isn't just a sneaker, it's a statement. Handcrafted in India, inspired by our streets and designed for the world. Today, we're stepping into the world of Gully Labs, one of India's homegrown brand that is redefining the sneaker culture. Have you ever wondered what goes into crafting a sneaker that tells a story? Well, let's throw the question and the shoe at the founders to find that out. Catch this. And now tell me, what makes Gully Labs special and what went into making this shoe?
So this shoe is our classic Gully number 3 silhouette that we launched very recently. It was inspired by the classic Mojari or a Juti silhouette.
The genesis of Gully Labs. How do we make India cool for Indians? How do we represent India on design product on a global stage? And how do we do that with sneakers?
When you started, what was the category that you began with? And today, how many categories are you operating in?
So we began with one model, 5 colors. And we were making probably 30 or 50 shoes a month. Now we have 35 to 40 different SKUs.
Gully Labs operates its design and production from a 10,000 square foot warehouse in Noida. With a maximum capacity of 8,000 sneakers a month, they're currently utilizing 50 to 60% of their potential. The facility manages the entire production process, from sourcing raw materials to developing patterns and molds. A team of 50 to 54 skilled artisans, alongside external vendors, transform these materials into finished products.
So we've probably sold around 20,000 shoes till date. Let's look at a sort of common projects or some of these other players that are there. They don't cost below $300 or $350, right? And our sort of ASP is between 5 to 10,000 rupees.
Tucked away in Delhi's upscale Panchsheel enclave is Gully Labs' first flagship store. It isn't just a retail space, it's a cultural experience. With her dedicated floor called the Bethak, it doubles as a community hub, hosting workshops, movie screenings and sneaker bar nights. It's where sneakers meet storytelling, from customizations and street-led campaigns to collaborations with brands like Royal Enfield. More than just shopping, this is where Indian street culture comes alive.
So far, we've been 90-95% D2C. With the store coming in, we expect the store to take up some chunk of D2C.
On an annualized basis, we should be hitting north of 30 CR at the end of this financial year, north of 100 CR annualized by next financial year.
Sneakerheads, you may have heard of all the big names: Nike, Adidas, Puma, Onitsuka. But what if I told you that one of India's fastest growing sneaker brand is not only aiming to compete with these Western giants, but overtake them? Well, Gully Labs, that has raised 8.7 crore rupees in seed funding, is making wave in India's sneaker market, which was valued at $3.9 billion in FY24 and is projected to hit $5.9 billion by 2032. Well, they're not the only ones. As India's homegrown sneaker market heats up, other players such as Comet, Culture Circle, Papa Sneakers have collectively raised over 100 crore rupees in funding as investors are increasingly backing India's design-led brands. So what does this mean for Indian consumers? More power, more choice, and a story that runs on their feet. With camera person Saroj Singh and Lakshman Singh, Aishwarya Anand for CNBC TV 18.
And with that, it is a wrap on this edition of Startup Street. More news and updates coming up on the other side. Stay tuned.